And then a little bit later, the most colorful mobster ever to, you might say, grace the streets of Los Angeles now has an amazing biography chronicling his exploits. We will talk to the author who wrote the book on Mickey Cohen. She joins us live.
All right. Jeff will toss into you, I'm sure.
That's right.
Yes.
We're going back we've been talking about this since the beginning of the show. Coming up next, gangster Mickey Cohen. Well, not Mickey himself, but the lady who has written all about him. If you manage to have made the front page of a major city newspaper, let's say, I don't know, 1,000 times in your life, you must have accomplished something pretty impressive, right? Impressive, but not necessarily legal. Mobster Mickey Cohen survived 11 attempts on his life and ended up battered and bruised, but well enough to die peacefully in his sleep along the way. And joining us now, the author of what is really the definitive book on Mickey Cohen, The Life and Crimes of LA's Notorious Mobster, is TERE TEREBA. TERE, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
What made you decide, you're an Angelino, you grew up here, but what made you decide to write a book about such a notorious mobster back in the day?
I wanted to learn the story of the LA underworld. You know the story about every other city's underworld. Why not LA? And when I started unearthing it, purely for my own pleasure, I was fascinated and rather appalled and shocked, too, by this incredible story.
Do we have anybody, and I'm asking you this question to give you an opportunity to tell us more about Mickey, do we have anybody in the last 10 years, 20 years, who even rises close to where Mickey Cohen was as far as the way he hobnobbed with stars and yet how ruthless he was?
There isn't anybody like him. He's unique in the annals of the underworld. He started off as a newsboy. He went to boxer. He became a hoodlum. He became a mob boss in Hollywood during its golden age.
Worked for Bugsy Siegel,
He worked for Bugsy Siegel. He was hobnobbing with everybody from Shirley Temple to Lana Turner to Cary Grant to every, superstar in the world, all on the Sunset Strip.
And yet he was committing crimes of unspeakable proportion.
Well, there was a gang war that surrounded him that ran here from about 1946 to 1950. And, so the whole city was held in his grip.
Now, a lot of us saw the movie Bugsy with Warren Beatty.
Yes.
The famous scene in his home in Beverly Hills where he was assassinated. You make the assertion in your book that Mickey Cohen had something to do with it.
Oh, he did inherit the fief of Bugsy Siegel. So I think, it's obvious that Mickey Cohen wouldn't just happen not to be involved.
What is it about him that you have written about that others have not? You say others have taken the point of view of law enforcement.
Well, law enforcement, in many cases was in collusion with Mickey Cohen. So Mickey Cohen had a package that he put out and presented as his story. It was also the story that law enforcement that were involved with him presented. So, I had to pierce through with a lot of work for 10 years of research to get through these smoke screens and pierce through and try to give the story of the LA underworld.
I want, when you talk about the LA underworld and you talk about his power, I want everybody to get an idea of what Mickey Cohen sounded like. We actually are lucky enough to have the last television interview he did with KCOP's Larry Atterbury. I'm not exactly sure what date it was, but it had to, this gives you an idea of how well connected he was and the power base he had as he was being asked to help find and locate the kidnapped heiress Patty Hearst.
Ed called me and he asked me at this time about if I would give some assistance to Catherine and Randy Hearst in regards to Patty. I said, well, what assistance could I give? I said, I'm on a parole. I've done 11 years in the prison on a tax beat.
On a tax beat. So you also say that Mickey Cohen was the only one to ever bond out of Alcatraz. Did you say, is that right?
Yes, he was in Alcatraz in the early 60s for income tax evasion. Like his idol and role model, Al Capone, they could only get him on tax evasion. He was bonded out of Alcatraz, the first and only person, and his bond was signed by a sitting U.S. Supreme Court justice.
That's connected.
That's connected.
Hey, by the way, I want to show you the book cover one last time, TERE TEREBA. And if you are planning by any chance on seeing that new movie coming out, Gangster Squad, you know, Sean Penn, Emma Stone, the rest of them, that they're reshooting right now, Terry, you say you got to read this book first if you really want to know the inside
If they want to know the story about the LA underworld.
All right. TERE TEREBA, thanks very much for being with us, and we will be right back, everybody.